You're listening to Autism Approved Radio, where we bring hope and help into your home. Hi guys.
Hello.
We are back with another segment of Listen In with Lisa and Kristin.
Yay.
Laughter, wine, and words of wisdom.
Yay.
Welcome back. We have another great show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about picky eaters.
Oh, there's no picky eaters out there. Kristin, what are you talking about?
I know, right? I'm sure none of you guys have ever had this issue.
Nope, no problem at all.
Whatever you put in front of them. I wish that was the case. But so we're going to be talking about that and hopefully being able to answer some of your guys' questions.
Yeah, and I think I always share this story, and I'm sorry if it's a repeat, but Jeff was so sensitive early on when we started the autism journey, and this was over 17 years ago. He would throw up when I ate a salad sitting next to him. So I get the picky eater thing. My poor kid, he was the pickiest picky. And even my typical daughter, she's more picky than my kid with autism.
Wow.
Yeah, so I get the picky kid eating thing.
Were you a picky eater?
No. Pretty much if you didn't eat what was on the table, you didn't freaking eat.
Yeah.
My mom was like, great, you don't want that? Fine, go to bed.
That's how my grandma was. My grandma actually sent it to school with me the next day for lunch if I did not.
Holy guacamole. There's a movie about that.
That was my life.
Oh my gosh, no. Yes. But yeah, my mom, she was a great cook, and we just ate whatever she made. You know, we didn't have any issues. But, I mean, it's not that our kids are trying to be mean to us or disrespectful. They truly have issues that, you know, one of the most common, Kristin, you know this, that zinc. You know, when there's a zinc deficiency, a lot of kids with zinc deficiency tend to be really picky eaters and more sensitive. So there's certain things that could have a medical, you know, issue at the base of the problem, that if we just paid attention maybe to those things, we added more zinc. My kid, for example, wouldn't eat any protein. All he wanted was carbs, which is a different thing. But made sure we get his zinc levels to a normal basis, and he was able to process and metabolize all the carbs. Like, digestion's an issue. We could talk about enzymes all day long too, right? But, you know, the point being is just, you know, you can only make airplane noises for so long to get food in the kid's belly. So there are some strategies. So what have you done with Jax to help him get eating and all that?
You know, I've done some crazy stuff. And if you guys have ever heard any of my older stuff, I mean, I was broccoli man, I think, for 3 months straight.
Broccoli man!
Yeah, I was broccoli man, trying to get that kid to eat broccoli. And why I thought broccoli was so important, I just couldn't get him to eat anything with green color. And so I bought this big green wig. And I had a green, like, pajama outfit, and I would literally...
Oh, my God, are there pictures?
I'm sure somewhere. I would wake him up, and I would do a kind of a Cookie Monster type of voice. Although other people have told me I sound possessed doing it, so I will not, like, do it right now.
Okay, thank you.
But to him, at that age, he thought I was Cookie Monster Broccoli Man, and he does to this day know how to spell broccoli very well, because I would go into his room, waking him up, rapping the letters broccoli.
Oh my
God. And then I would take the broccoli, you know, anytime we were at the table, and I would, like, have the broccoli talk to each other, and I would be playing with the broccoli, and then I'd eat the broccoli, and then, I mean, I would do anything and everything. To the point where, like, he would laugh hysterically at me, which is great for eye contact, I have to say.
Yeah.
And
I still want video of this. The pictures or video, please. This is awesome.
So those are one of the things I did, you know. Of course.
Did you ever wear it for Halloween?
I've never done that.
Okay, well, I'm just checking. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Go.
Yeah, so, yeah, he's probably going to need therapy at some point later for this. But, yeah, I mean, I've done, you know, crazy stuff like that. And then also just being really, really patient. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, I would just hold the spoon, you know, or just hold the fork, or let the new food stay on the plate.
Right.
And it might have stayed on the plate for a month, you know.
Right.
But the fact that they had to see it every day, you know, and then draw pictures and whatever I had to do to remind them of whatever that food is.
Right. And it's so funny when we went through we did the same thing. We just chose peas instead of broccoli. And I felt, let's work on the trees later. We'll get to the trees. Let's start first with the smallest of small. And it was interesting. I worked with an OT to develop a protocol to do a lot what you just suggested. You know, when your mom or grandma used to say, don't play with your food, we're telling you, play with your food.
Yes, you want a relationship with
your food. Yes. And even if you just start with it being on the table, but not eat it, you know, and then just being familiar with what it is. And I love that you did the whole cartoon character, Broccoli Man. But, you know, and I started first with just saying it's yummy. I'm eating this. It tastes good. It's yummy. Don't worry, you don't have to eat it.
Yeah.
You know, and just so he could get more desensitized with the salad or the peas sitting on my plate, but not his.
Yeah.
It took 2 months for him to not vomit.
Wow.
You know.
That's some serious.
Yeah.
That's serious.
So, but then we just, you know, to get him, like when you would put stuff on the baby's tray in a high chair, they would drop whatever they didn't like on the floor. The same thing with our kids. Yep. It didn't need to be just in a high chair. It could be on the plate.
My son would take the whole plate, I remember at one point, and just like throw it.
No.
They were all plastic plates, thank goodness.
Good. Good call.
Yeah. He would throw it and be like, no. Like that was his word. Like he didn't really talk, but he could tell me no.
Right.
And I would be like, are you serious? You know? Like,
so I started with plate in the center of the table and then 2 plates and inch it slowly, closely, ever so closer to his side. But he would continue to push away. And I'm like, no. We got to keep it right there.
Yeah.
But I swear to God, he looked at it like it was a pterodactyl going to eat him. I swear. For the first... so it was about month 6 that literally I got him to eat the first pea.
But that's called patience.
Correct.
You know, you don't give up. And I always like to say, a no means no for 5 minutes, and then I'm allowed to ask again.
Correct. We're girls, after all.
Absolutely. So, you know, if a no means no, that doesn't always necessarily mean 5 minutes, but it could be the next day or the day after or you know, that kind of thing.
So there there is an article on the TACA website that you could type up on tacanow.org, picky eaters, and this article would pop up, and it's 11 steps. And some people get through the 11 steps in a couple of weeks. And for my son, it was 6 months. So like you just said, is you just have to have the patience that someday he will actually eat this.
And that's the thing is, I talk to so many families just like you. I'm sure you hear this all the time. Well, I tried that. They didn't want to eat that. Right? Like I tried to offer them that, and I'll say, well, when did you try? Well, you know, we bought that like last year.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Even as an adult, I still try new foods, and that's the interesting thing. And I am a more picky eater, even though when I was a kid I had to eat. I had to eat everything on my plate, and I think that's what made me a little bit more of a picky eater as I became an adult. However, because Jackson, I've told him for so many years, just try it. I have now been more open to try new things that I've never would have thought I would have tried. And
seafood?
No, not seafood. I
do know that about you.
I do not like it.
It's all good. Yeah, some of it's bad for you, so it's all good.
But asparagus is one of the ones that for years I wouldn't even want to look at asparagus.
Really?
Right? I love asparagus now.
So good for detox.
Oh, it's delicious.
That's why your pee smells.
I was going to say your pee does smell funny afterwards, but yeah.
Do you know you're detoxing?
Well,
asparagus is a natural detoxifier.
Well, my son loves asparagus now, and so do I. And I would not have probably thought to even try it unless that. You know, in my mind, I'm like, here, I'm putting Jackson through this. Yeah. I need to be a little bit more open-minded myself. And so I think, you know, there's probably parents out there like me that, you know, be a little bit more open-minded, you know.
To your own plate.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's important that for the kids, they play with the food, they get comfortable with the food. As my child and Jeff got older, I had him help with food preparation.
Yes.
So whether it was, you know, putting the food on his plate, talking about normal food sizes, you know, or serving sizes, excuse me, and just making sure he was part of the process. Like if he didn't like peas, great. You're getting them out of the refrigerator, you're washing them, you're putting them in the pot. Fantastic. That's what we're going to do. If you don't like eating them, you're still going to help prepare it.
Yeah.
So that whole play with your food, I love that your grandma said, my mom said too, don't play with your food.
Oh, gosh.
Don't play with your food.
I'm kind of glad that Jackson was born to me.
Yeah.
Another thing that we do now, especially, is we give Jackson choices. Because
great.
So like, let's say between peas and broccoli, you know, because we like to have a lot of color on the plate. So there could be squash, there could be carrots. There's always like an orange and a green and, you know, a yellow of some sort, right? Yeah. But we'll maybe have, you know, do you want peas or do you want broccoli? You know, would you like carrots or would you like squash?
Right.
You know, and that way he then made that choice.
Great.
Which I feel is helpful. The other thing is eating what your kids are eating, I feel is such a big deal.
Right.
I feel like the whole family should get involved because now you're not making that one child feel like they're special, like their food's not as good as your food, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of families are afraid to do that. But I know on your guys' site, you have a whole budget on how to do that.
And how to do it, but also I think it's just for sanity's sake. For whoever's the food preparer in your house, you want to make one meal for everybody.
Well, and if you have a brother and a sister, we don't, like for our son, but like a lot of people have more than one child.
Right.
So why is it okay that Johnny's eating something, but Susie's eating something different?
That's not good.
You know, and I think that then it doesn't make them feel weird or different. It's like everybody's eating it. It's dinner time.
Right.
You know, period.
Right. And even like, for example, like a gluten-full pasta, you can have one that's gluten-free and one that's gluten-full. And, you know, it looks the same. It, to me, tastes the same, so I don't know why you even bother. Yeah. I mean, my God. It tastes, as long as you don't overcook it or it becomes wallpaper paste. But if you don't overcook it, tastes really good in my opinion. So I just, for the kids' sake, for everyone's sake, make it easy. Just cook one meal. So I appreciate that. A, the choices, and B, don't get like 28 pots dirty for making one meal, right? For 15 people or 5 people or 2 people.
So
right.
That was the other thing. Like, it's like, what am I going to do? Do one load and then have to do another? Like, it's just, I'm all about time saving. But the other thing is, I want to make sure it tastes good.
Right.
Because if I'm not eating it, I'm not going to have any idea, you know, why he doesn't like it.
And some of the cooking shows we taped, we talked a lot. They're making breads with zucchini in them. You know, making the meat puffs. I think we made them together. I'm not sure. We made did so many cooking shows, but I did ground, whether it was buffalo, ground chicken, ground turkey, ground beef, ground whatever. You take the squash, the yellow crookneck squash, and you grate off the skin, and then you grate the squash. You mix it in the protein, and you cook or bake that. There's a whole cooking show just on that. So really, you have to get creative at hiding. So first, hide the vegetable or the fruit in a favorite product, whether it be a muffin or, like I said, those little meat puffs. They're the size of sushi, small hands, small meals, right? Or for small hands for small kids, excuse me. And that was really helpful because what my son would then understand is like, yeah, I'm going to eat, this is great, but then get kind of used to the texture and the taste of maybe the unpreferred food, whether it would be squash or fruit or vegetable, right? So to me, that made the biggest sense is start there first, take a favorite, modify the recipe. The yellow crookneck squash is probably the most easiest one because it cooks almost translucent.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can put it in spaghetti sauce, you can put it in muffins, you can put it in meat. Totally. And we talked about that. And we even we have that macaroni and cheese recipe that we made.
That was good. I remember that one.
And that was made out of squash.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so there's so many ways rather than using crappy ingredients, we can actually hide healthy food, get them used to the taste, then they eat it in its native form, theoretically.
Well, what I love about the world we live in today, and I'm sure you remember this.
Yes.
When we first did the diet with Jackson 10 plus years ago now. Oh my, going on 11.
100 years, dog years, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, the health food markets, everything tasted like cardboard.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
It was ass.
And I remember trying to make waffles, and I probably gone through, and if you've heard me talk, you've heard the story probably, but I can't even tell you how many waffle irons I went through. I probably went through at least 10.
Really?
Yes, because I kept sticking it and burning it and not knowing how to do it.
Hey, there's a trick. If you make another batter, you put it on top and you take it out and you throw those away. And it takes off all of the bad crap that was burnt on.
Well, now, though, the ingredients are a lot better.
Yeah.
The mixes are a lot better. I know how to do it now. But back then, it was like you went in one aisle and it'd be like one little shelf of what you could choose from.
Or choice A or B.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And you're like, okay, this one's $29 and this one's $150. Okay, let me try it. Now it's like everything's almost the same price as everything else. You have aisles and aisles of stuff to choose from. So I really think if you're just starting the diet, let's say your child's a picky eater and you think, they're never going to eat anything. Honestly, if they like chicken nuggets, you can find a chicken nugget gluten-free, dairy-free version.
Yeah.
If you're not Betty Crocker and you don't feel like you can, pound chicken, and let me just tell you, I did learn how to pound chicken from Lisa.
That was fun. I still tell that story. But hey, all your aggressions were gone for that day, right?
So, but like I'm actually a much better cook now than I've ever been, right? But
you're so funny.
But a lot of people maybe you don't have a lot of time. Maybe you work full time and you don't have time to, spend all weekend to prep all the meals. Maybe you have time to do it a few times a week, but you don't have it every day, right? That's when I feel like grab the alternatives that are there from companies. I don't believe we should live in the frozen food section and the prepackaged foods. I'm a big believer in fresh ingredients.
Me too.
But if that's all you can do, I'd rather you do that than to do nothing. The other thing is, I think it helps that stepping stone, because now it's like, okay, my child likes chicken nuggets. Like Jackson used to only eat chicken nuggets, pizza, cookies, waffles, and milk.
Yeah, similar for us.
Yeah, so if today that was happening, I would probably go buy a gluten-free, dairy-free chicken nugget. I would find a gluten-free, dairy-free waffle, and I would substitute all of that to get his body kind of rid of that kind of food first. And then I would probably start introducing some of the fresh foods.
Totally. And what's so nice now, Kristin, like you said, is if your kid was a big fan of brand A, gluten-full, dairy-full, there's probably 6 variations or more that you can find in the regular store now that are gluten-free, dairy-free. So if there was a specific brand, try to find that same look and feel. Heck, I even use the empty boxes. I would put it in a different, bag, if you will, put it in the freezer in the old box, and then pull it out and go ta-da. So you have to be a little mischievous, evil, and creative in getting your kid to eat the stuff.
But I believe a lot of times our kids are picky eaters because they're eating the wrong foods. Mm-hmm. Once you kind of get that toxic kind of crap out of them,
right?
I just feel like they're a lot more open to trying new foods. I mean, even now, Jackson, he has not had an infraction or anything since he was 2 years, 4 months, and he's 14 years. Okay?
Wow, you're lucky. We've had a few here and there.
I homeschool,
right.
And I've 4 kids in a bubble, let's just be honest, right? Like, I'm one of those hovering moms. What do they call it? The hovering mom? Is that what
No, you're not a hover. You're a sweet mom. What are you talking about, Willis?
But I'm very, I think last year was the first time I ever even let him eat something I didn't make.
Aww.
Because I realized one day I'm not going to be here forever, and
you're not.
I won't. And who's going to cook for him? So he kind of has to learn that, like, he may have to eventually buy food.
Yeah.
But his gut is in a totally different state now. He's a totally different child.
Boy, you told me he grew 5 inches.
Yes.
For the love of George.
So now we've introduced all these other new foods, and we're continuing to introduce new stuff to him. And let me tell you, it's not always. Not that he throws the plate anymore. But he'll look at it and say, no, thank you.
Right.
Very polite. And then I say, yeah, we're going to at least try it. Now, what I do with that, though, especially if it's something new we've never given him, regular stuff's on the plate still.
Right.
But I have a 3-bite rule. Not a 1-bite rule. I have a 3-bite rule.
Good for you.
And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Here's the thing, dude. You got to taste it 3 times.
Right.
He likes numbers. Let's use his motivation.
Right.
Usually, not always, but usually by the 3rd bite, on his own, will accidentally, I don't know if it's accident or not, he'll take another 3 or 4 bites.
Right.
Because now he's not afraid of it.
Totally.
A lot of times it's not that they don't like the taste of it. They're just so afraid, and they have all this fear over it. Why? I don't know. But, the other thing is sitting down with them and eating the meal together. And talking about it. You know? We don't do that anymore, I feel like, in our society. People are watching TV. They're eating at separate times.
No electronics. No. Put them in a basket. But I think the most important, you brought up, like, as soon as we started doing those things, like that great idea of choice A or B, we would do New Food Friday. Oh. And so if Jeff, his favorite activity was a new film or a new movie that we would rent or watch on Fridays. But if he didn't try New Food Friday, he wouldn't get that activity.
I love the motivation.
So you can get to, like Kristin said, break it down, find the favorites, that are the gluten-free, casein-free options. Then sneaky hide the food in some of the favorite choices. Then do the protocol to eat it in its natural form, whatever the hell that is. Then get creative about how you introduce new foods, and even include them in the shopping. Like, let's go through the vegetable aisle. You pick out New Food Friday food, and they can pick out maybe 1 or 2 choices. Help you prepare it at home, wash it. Every kid can wash a vegetable. Get them in there, have them playing with the water.
And don't be afraid your kitchen might get messy.
Right.
I mean, I know some people actually are afraid of that. Like, oh, I'm going to have to clean up all this. But you know what? If the end being that they're eating the food, you know what? Have, like, a total messy kitchen and clean it up afterwards. Because, I mean, I have to tell you, Jackson, he doesn't particularly like cooking with me yet. But I have him in there. And he has to help set the table. You know, he has to help clean up his dish and put it in the dishwasher. You know, he has to, you know, if I tell him, okay, go get the milk, which is a coconut milk, right? He has to get it out of the refrigerator and just kind of help in that thing. He picks, you know, I always do give him a choice though, you know, for the most part. I am a mom. There are times I'm busy. I'm like, dude, we got chicken. That's what we're eating, you know. But for the most part, he gets a choice. But you know what? I think often we forget our kids are still kids. We are mommy and daddy. So at the end of the day, we're the ones who say what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. I think often when the child has autism, you're like, oh, they have autism. They're not going to do that. You know what? When I was a kid, I had to help set the table. I had to put my dishes away. You know, I had to get the milk out. You know, so I think we have to also kind of go back to how we were raised, and kind of incorporate that into our family life.
Well, don't let the label, you know, stop you from having the child be an integral part, just like everyone else in your family, and helping. And I mean, my gosh, now my son's 19, he has a whole chore list. Are you kidding? No one else would take out the trash like my son right now. He takes out the trash without being asked often. So just including them in that process, including them in that chore piece, my God, now he empties and puts the dishwashers.
He makes an amazing gluten-free, dairy-free brownie.
Oh my God. He's actually a good cook. I'm teaching him that, you know, if you like girls and you want a girlfriend, you got to learn a couple of meals.
Again, motivation.
Finding
the motivation
New Food Friday.
Changes.
Now it's girlfriend. So someday we'll get them there, right? But the nice part is find whatever that motivation is and incorporate that in your strategy. And you just have to bring your patience with this one.
And it might not happen overnight.
Nope.
And and then one thing also, make sure when you are introducing a food, do look for I would actually recommend to make sure you got an allergy panel of some sort. And not always, like when you do look at those numbers, make sure you're working with a doctor who understands. You don't want to go just to a general doctor who's going to look at it and go, oh, that's fine, or it's only on number 4. It's fine. Like, you want to work with somebody who knows what they're looking at. They're a specialist in autism and understanding the gut, number 1. Number 2, you want to make sure that there's no issues when swallowing. Like, there's no oral motor issues, like because you don't want to give them something that they may have to chew a lot of, and for whatever reason they're having some issue. You don't want any choking issues. So I want to make sure, you know, when you're thinking of this, typically none of those will be the issue for the most part. But for the 2 people that might be listening, you know, that they might have that issue, I want to make sure that they're, you know, okay with that. So, picky eaters, it's something that's not, I don't believe, going to be forever.
No, it's not. And now Jeff eats everything, and he eats salads, and he eats like salsa.
And the salad he used to throw up just when you watch
Now he actually loves them, and so it's whatever we're eating, he's eating, and in fact, he's helping us prepare it. So it's so much fun now. And if we didn't do that, he'd still be eating the same 4 foods. Mind you, they were gluten-free, dairy-free. You can do that. But, you know, you can't eat the same 4 foods forever, and you can't have the same 4 foods every day for the rest of your life. They may not. They may stop making them. Right.
Oh, how many of our favorite foods, even if they were gluten-free, dairy-free, they stopped making, and you're
right.
like, no,
you know? Come back. Right.
That's why it's important to also know how to make the recipes.
Right.
You know, as well, because you can always buy the ingredients.
So never say never on picky foods and picky eaters. I think that even the best part, like you said, like let them be part of the kitchen, let them play with the food, let them go help you buy the food. And then give them those choices. Because to me, that is going to make all the difference of introducing new foods, and then find the motivation to introduce a new food.
And if you have a younger child, let's say you have like a 2, 3, 4-year-old, you know, child, and you're newly diagnosed, you know what? Don't forget, when we were kids like that, I remember being in the kitchen and getting a pot and pan and banging it on the ground.
You remember that?
I do. I remember being like around 3 or 4. And I remember my grandma had a special cabinet section where I got to only use those pots and pans.
Oh, nice.
And, you know, I think, you know, I wish I would have thought of that when Jackson was younger. I was so busy trying to learn all the recipes and, you know, not kill all my waffle irons, right? Or waffle machines. But I talked to a lot of parents who are like, well, how do I incorporate my child? My child's not looking. My child's not talking. You know what? A lot of our kids like to bang stuff. You know, a lot of our kids like to play with stuff. And you know, and so get them in the kitchen however you can get them in the kitchen, whether it be they're sitting there as a little kid just banging something. If they're a little bit older, then try to get them to help with something. And even if they're not verbal and you don't feel like they're really quite understanding, do hand over hand and help them understand. This is how we set the table.
Right.
Celebrate them, for doing that, because now food time doesn't become, oh, what am I going to do?
Right.
A lot of parents, I think that you guys have more anxiety and stress over trying to get the new foods in your child than anybody else. And if you kind of took that fear away and went, all right, they're going to eat, I don't know what they're going to eat, but they're going to eat something off this plate.
Right.
I think it would help you so much.
Well, I just love the way you're describing it, the hand over hand, actions to get them used to a new activity. Mm-hmm. Then they're going to be more easy to transition to food time and transition to a preferred activity afterwards.
It's a positive experience.
Right.
It's not like dinner time and everybody runs one the other way.
Yeah. Like, no.
The last thing, and then I can't believe we already have to wrap up. But one thing I have loved with Jackson trying the new foods is that when he discovers a food that I really like, guacamole being one of them. Right?
Oh, I love guacamole.
It was such a neat experience the first time that I got to eat guacamole with Jackson. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's eating the food that I really love, that I have fond memories of. And so, I think that, when I think of food, how many of us, what we do for our recreation is go out to dinner, right?
Yeah.
Food is a big part of our society. It's a big part of our lives.
Right.
It doesn't have to be negative. And whatever your picture looks like today of whatever that is, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be in the future. Just take one step, like Lisa was saying. It was 6 months before he
ate the green pea.
Yeah. And so, it's totally possible. Yeah. And you guys have a whole thing on your website about the budget too, right?
Yeah. So on the website, tacanow.org, that's TACANOW, you can look up the picky food article with the protocol, and there's also feeding your kids on a budget with the allergy-friendly diet, and that's gluten-free, dairy-free. And it's all up there, it's step-by-step instructions, including some cooking shows with Kristin and I, and that was so much fun. Yes, there was wine at that time, too. We had a good time.
Absolutely. And, I think the people will say, well, we can't afford it. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that today. And I'm not trying to call you guys out or anything, but honestly, I don't see a huge difference on how, especially with your guys' budget out there as well. Sometimes, yes, organic is a little bit more expensive and things, but the regular markets now are really picking up on that.
They're doing a great job.
And, it didn't used to be that way.
And there's Aldi now and Trader Joe's.
And they have farmers markets,
right?
So, and they even have these things where you can, I was looking online the other day, and I don't know the websites, but I'm sure you can Google it. You can order boxes of vegetables that come to your house of all these, it's like $20. And it's all from local farmers and whatever else. So really, guys, if there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
And you can definitely make it work. So don't give up.
Yeah, and take the steps, like Kristin was saying. Just replace the favorites, then move to disguising the food, and then move into these other steps, and just tackle it 1 week, 1 day at a time.
Yep, and no means no for 5 minutes, and I'm allowed to ask again. And we'll leave it at that. And again, make sure you guys go to talkanow.org. You can also check out autismhopealliance.org. And until next time. Bye, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
You're listening to Autism Approved Radio.